So a recent video that I made on the channel, I talked about every team's best draft pick since 2015, and I really like looking back at previous drafts, so that inspired today's video, where I'm going to look back at every team's best second round draft pick since 2015. And if you guys do enjoy this, I could do this for every single round from round 3 all the way to round 7, so drop a thumbs up if you guys want to see that here. And like always, you can let me know, did I get your team right? Down below in the comments. So we'll start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be Jalen Hurts, who was the 53rd overall pick in the 2020 draft. Now, if you're looking at specific best player at their position, you could go with Landon Dickerson in the 2021 NFL draft, but I gotta go with Jalen Hurts just because he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2024. He's a two-time Pro Bowler in 2022 and 2023, and his record so far, basically 4 years as a starter in the NFL, is a very impressive 45-17. He's already been to 2 Super Bowls, including the one that he won this year, and he's also a dual threat quarterback as well. He's been blessed with a fantastic O-line, a really good running game, good coaching, and good receivers, but you have to say, if you do win a Super Bowl, your quarterback that you took in the second round has got to make the nomination for this video. For the Dallas Cowboys, it has to be their second round pick in the 2020 draft, 51st overall, Trayvon Diggs. So back-to-back second rounders here in the 2020 draft to start this video. Trayvon Diggs led the NFL in interceptions in 2021, where he had 11 that season. He also had 2 pick sixes, and he was listed to All-Pro first team. He was a Pro Bowler that year, was a Pro Bowler in 2022, and was a very reliable starting corner for the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, though, the last 2 years have been a little bit banged up for Trayvon Diggs, as he's now going into his age 27 season in 2025. So let's hope that he can revert back to what he was in his early 20s. For the Washington Commanders, I'm going to go with Darius Geis, who was their second round pick back in the 2018 draft. I'm just kidding. We're going to go with Sam Cosmi, who was the 51st overall pick by the Washington Commanders in the 2021 NFL draft. He's been a 4-year starter for the Commanders so far to start off his career, and has been graded out to being an above average interior offensive lineman throughout most of his career by PFF, including peaking as the 4th rated interior offensive lineman in the 2023 season. The Commanders definitely felt the loss of him when he got injured in the 2024 playoffs, and he's going to be a staple building block to protect Jaden Daniels for the long term. The New York Giants, you can go with one of their safeties that ended up leaving them in free agency. You could go with Landon Collins, who was the 33rd overall pick in the 2015 draft. I'm going to go with the more recent player in Xavier McKinney, the 36th overall pick in the 2020 draft. I feel like McKinney has turned himself into being one of the best safeties in the league, and while Landon Collins was very good in his career, but I'm okay if you ended up going with Landon Collins given how good that 2016 season was for the New York Giants. McKinney, though, in the 2024 season was an All-Pro first team member, a Pro Bowler, even got some Defensive Player of the Year votes, finishing 8th there. He fit like a glove in this Green Bay Packers defense, and he had 8 interceptions in the year 2024. So yeah, for the Giants, it's a safety that they took very early in the second round in either the 2015 draft or the 2020 draft that ended up leaving them when they were a free agent. We're going to go over to Buffalo now. We're going to talk about the 63rd overall pick we're going to go over to Buffalo now. We're going to talk about the 63rd overall pick in the 2017 draft. Somebody played at the best college football team, Deion Dawkins at Temple University. Dawkins wasn't a full-time starter right away, but has pretty much been one since the 2018 season. And over the last 4 years, he's been a Pro Bowler from 2021 to 2024 and has been protecting Josh Allen ever since. He ended up getting rewarded a big-time contract extension by the Buffalo Bills fairly recently, and he was graded out as the 33rd best offensive tackle in the 2024 season and has been a well above average offensive tackle since being drafted. The Jets do not have many good second round picks since 2015, so you got to go with Breece Hall, who was the 36th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft out of Iowa State. Breece Hall got off to a very good start in his rookie year, but then unfortunately tore his ACL. People were a little hesitant on how he would look in 2023, and he looked so good coming back from his injury. 994 yards, 5 touchdowns. He averaged 58 yards per game, and he averaged 4.5 yards per carry. 2024, though, he took a little bit of a step back, more of a split backfield in New York, and maybe Breece Hall does not get extended by the Jets down the line. This is going to be year 4 of this contract, but I do hope that Breece Hall bounced back and looks like how he did coming out of Iowa State, because he really looked like one of the better younger running backs in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins, you can give some love to their draft pick of Robert Hunt, but I'm going to talk about Xavier Howard, who has been basically their best corner over the last 15 years. He was the 38th overall pick out of Baylor in the 2016 draft, and Howard was their cornerback one basically from 2016 to 2023. He hasn't played in the NFL since, but he was a multiple-time Pro Bowler in 2018 and from 2020 to 2022, and was even even on All-Pro First Team in the 2020 season, where he led the NFL with 10 interceptions that year and 20 pass deflections. He also led the NFL in interceptions in 2018 as a 25-year-old. The Patriots also don't have many good second-round picks since 2015. You could give some love to Kyle Duggar. I'm going to talk about Christian Barmore, though, who was the 38th overall pick in the 2021 draft. It did feel like on draft night that he should have been a first-round pick and fell to round number 2. And unfortunately, Barmore is dealing with some health issues, but he was a very productive defensive tackle in the first 3 years of his career, including an 8.5 sack season, a true breakout year in 2023. In 17 games, he had 64 tackles. He had 16 QB hits that year and looked like one of the better younger interior defensive linemen in the NFL, and hopefully he could be healthy for the 2025 season under Mike Vrabel. The New Orleans Saints, I'm going to go with Michael Thomas, who was the 47th overall pick in the 2016 draft, and Thomas at one point in his career was a top 3 receiver in the NFL, which is no easy feat. Thomas, in his rookie year in 2016, had 92 catches for 1,137 yards. He topped those numbers in 2017, topped them again in 2018, and he led the NFL for the first time in his career in receptions with 125, and he topped those numbers again in 2019. 149 receptions on 185 targets, 1,725 yards, and 107.8 yards per game, led the NFL in all those categories, and was an All-Pro First Team member, and even won Offensive Player of the Year, and it went downhill for Thomas ever since then. 2020, he only played 7 games, did not play at all in 2021 with an ankle injury, only 3 games in 2022, and 10 games in 2023, and we haven't seen him since. It was a major fall off for Michael Thomas because he was one of the top receivers in the NFL, up there with Antonio Brown in the late 2010s, so it is really unfortunate to see the fall off for Michael Thomas, but in my opinion, was the best second rounder for the Saints in that 2016 draft. 2 secondary guys you can go with over in Tampa Bay. You could give some love to Carlton Davis. I'm going to talk about Antoine Winfield Jr., who was the 45th overall pick in the 2020 draft. A lot of good second rounders in that 2020 draft. Winfield Jr. is still on the Buccaneers, unlike Carlton Davis. He's now going into his 6th year in Tampa Bay, and he was an All-Pro First Team member in that 2023 season, led the NFL in forced fumbles that year with 6, and has been relatively available for the Buccaneers outside of the 2024 season, where he was banged up and only played in 9 games. It is kind of wild, though, that he was listed to All-Pro First Team back in 2023, was 6th in Defensive Player of the Year, but did not make the Pro Bowl. Really easy pick here for the Atlanta Falcons, who don't have many good second rounders since 2015. I'm going with Deion Jones, who was the 52nd overall pick in that 2016 draft. He was a big part of that NFC champion Atlanta Falcons team in that 2016 season that lost to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. That year, as a rookie, he had 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes as a 22-year-old, finished 3rd in Defensive Rookie of the Year, and had 108 tackles. He followed that up year in 2017, where he was a Pro Bowler and was a productive starter for Atlanta from 2016 all the way to 2021. He's bounced around a little bit since then in Cleveland, Carolina, and Tampa Bay, but if you look at the draft history in the second round since 2015 for Atlanta, Deion Jones is the obvious pick. And then there's 2 secondary members you could talk about for the Carolina Panthers. You could give some love to James Bradbury. I'm going to go with a little bit more of a recent pick in Jeremy Chinn. It was kind of a shocker when Jeremy Chinn left the Carolina Panthers in 2023. I thought that they were going to re-sign him, and he had a productive year with the Washington Commanders in 2024, signed with the Las Vegas Raiders this offseason, but Chinn finished 2nd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting in that 2020 season, losing that award to Chase Young that year, who was the 2nd overall pick. Chinn had 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown. He had an interception that year, 5 pass deflections, was one of the better younger safeties in the NFL, and was kind of a hybrid linebacker at times. He was a productive starter on the Carolina Panthers defense that left a lot to be desired over the next few seasons, but I'm perfectly okay if you went with James Bradbury, because Bradbury has turned himself into a very good player in the NFL. It was probably more so in New York and Philadelphia rather than Carolina. A lot of nominations here you could talk about for the Indianapolis Colts. You could give some love to Shaq Leonard, Braden Smith, but I'm going to talk about Jonathan Taylor, who was the 41st overall pick in that 2020 draft. They also got Michael Pittman in the 2nd round in that class as well. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor has turned himself into a top running back in the NFL. He actually led the NFL in rushing yards in that 2021 season as a 22-year-old, 1,811 yards that year, led the NFL in touchdowns with 18, averaged 106.5 rushing yards per game, and was named All-Pro First Team member, and finished 2nd in Offensive Player of the Year voting, only losing it out to the Triple Crown winner at the wide receiver position that year in Cooper Kupp. Back-to-back injury-riddled years in 2022 and 2023, but still averaged around 80 yards per game when he was out there, but in 2024, reverted back to his form, 102 yards per game and over 1,400 rushing yards. And yeah, the Colts took one of the best running backs in the NFL with the 41st pick in that 2020 draft. We're going to go all the way back to the 2016 draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 36th overall pick was a hybrid running back and linebacker coming out of UCLA, Miles Jack. Jack spent 6 years in Jacksonville and was the linebacker on that really talented Jacksonville Jaguars defense in that 2017 season, a team that ended up making it to the AFC Championship game. And yeah, he should have had that fumble go his way in that championship game and was just a freak athlete on that side of the field. He spent the 2022 and 2023 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it doesn't look like he's going to be back in the NFL anymore. Sore subject here for the Tennessee Titans and their fans, but yeah, the most talented second rounder they took was the 51st overall pick in the 2019 draft in AJ Brown. Brown only spent 3 years in Tennessee because the Titans management did not want to extend him after he finished third in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting in 2019, was a Pro Bowler in 2020 where he had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, a little bit of a down year in 2021, but was banged up that year. He got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a pick that ended up being Treylon Burks, and then he went on to become one of the best receivers in the NFL, 1,500 yards in 2022, 1,456 yards in 2023, and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2024, and has been an All-Pro second team member each of the last 3 seasons. Even finished 9th in MVP voting in his first year in Philadelphia in 2022. And then for the Houston Texans, we're going to talk about a recent second rounder, the 37th overall pick in the 2022 draft, Jalen Pitre, the safety out of Baylor. Pitre got off to a little bit of a rough start in his NFL career, posted a 57 grade according to PFF in the 2022 season, 72nd out of all safety members, 67th in 2023, but broke out in 2024. Somebody that started off as a full-on safety, now plays a little bit of corner in the defensive system over there in Houston. He finished 5th in Defensive Rookie of the Year where he had 5 interceptions, but has honestly been a little bit better, more as a coverage guy as his career has gone on, and is a foundation of the Houston Texans secondary that also features young corners like Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, as well as Kalen Bullock in that secondary. It's a really good unit over there in Houston. And we're going to stay in the secondary here for somebody that should have won in the first round in the 2023 draft, Brian Branch of the Detroit Lions. He has been elite since he entered the NFL. He ended up finishing 5th in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting in his rookie year in 2023, had 3 interceptions, and then was graded out as one of the better safeties in 2024 for Detroit, was a Pro Bowler and had 4 interceptions and started every single game for the 1-seeded Detroit Lions. This was a phenomenal pick. He should have won in the first round. I still don't know how he didn't. For the Chicago Bears, we're going to talk about the 43rd overall pick in that loaded second round of 2020. We're going to talk about Cole Kmet, and Kmet hasn't been the flashiest tight end in the world, but he's been a reliable tight end for Caleb Williams and Justin Fields since being drafted. His best year probably came in 2023 where he started all 17 games, 73 catches, 719 yards, and 6 touchdowns for the Chicago Bears. We'll see if he could still be a starting caliber tight end for them going forward after they just drafted Colston Loveland with the 10th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. We'll stay on the topic of offense over in Green Bay, and we're going to mention Jaden Reed out of Western Michigan and Michigan State with the 50th overall pick in the 2023 draft. He's only spent 2 years in the NFL, but has pretty much taken that wide receiver 1 crown from Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and has become Jordan Love's favorite target. 94 targets in his rookie year in 2023, 64 catches for 793 yards and 8 touchdowns, and did get 9 less receptions in 2024 and around 20 less targets, but had 857 yards. And it'll be interesting to see if he's still going to be the wide receiver 1 for this team after they just took Matthew Golden in the first round. For Minnesota, you got to talk about the 41st overall pick in the 2017 NFL draft, Dalvin Cook, who spent 6 years in Minnesota and maybe never was the best running back in the NFL, but he was pretty much always in top 5 conversations. Broke out in that 2019 season where he had 1,135 yards and 13 touchdowns, topped those numbers with his best season in 2020, 1,557 yards, 16 touchdowns, and was a Pro Bowler that year. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2021 and 2022, and you know about the running back shelf life. It doesn't last very long in the NFL. That's what makes it look even more impressive for what guys like Derrick Henry have done over the years. Not a lot of good Pittsburgh Steelers second-round picks since 2015, so we're going to go with the 62nd overall pick in the 2017 draft. He was a 19-year-old when he debuted in the NFL, Juju Smith-Schuster out of USC. He was a very good wide receiver 2 next to Antonio Brown with Ben Roethlisberger over there in Pittsburgh. He had 58 catches catches, 917 yards, and 7 touchdowns in the 2017 season. Had his best year yet in 2018, 1,426 receiving yards on 166 targets and 101 receptions. The numbers did go down over the years as Ben Roethlisberger ended up declining in his talent. He left the Steelers after the 2021 season and won a Super Bowl with Kansas City in 2022 and is still kicking around here as a 28-year-old. It's kind of crazy that Juju is going to be 29 this year. For Cleveland, you got to talk about Nick Chubb, who was the 35th overall pick in the 2018 draft. He's pretty much wrapped up his Cleveland Browns career, 7 years in the NFL. His best years probably came in either 2019 or 2022. Each of those 2 years, he had around 1,500 rushing yards, 300 rushing attempts, but had 4 more touchdowns in 2022 where he had 12. And then unfortunately in game 2 of the 2023 season, suffered that gruesome knee injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Didn't really look the same this year in 2024. So hopefully this year as a 30-year-old at the end of the year, he can look like 80% of what he did pre that knee injury. There's a bunch of different guys you could talk about here for the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins, Jesse Bates. I'm going to mention somebody that was in Cincinnati for 7 years. His first year not in Cincinnati was last year, and that is going to be Joe Mixon, who was the 48th overall pick in the 2017 draft coming out of Oklahoma. Multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons in Cincinnati, one in 2018, one in 2019. He's probably in 2021, which was his best year, where he had over 1,200 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, was a Pro Bowler that year. He had 1,000 yards in 2023, and then had 1,000 yards in 2024 for a new team in the Houston Texans. And for Baltimore, we're also going to talk about a running back, a team that has not had many good second rounders since 2015. So we'll talk about J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State with the 55th overall pick in the 2020 draft. Did not have many productive years in the NFL. It was more so in his rookie year in 2020 and in 2024. But if you look at the Ravens drafting history, there's not many guys you could choose with. A lot better of a second rounder here with the 64th pick in the 2019 draft, DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks, now of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He spent 6 years in Seattle, multiple 1,000-yard seasons, one in 2020 where he had 1,303 yards, 83 receptions, was a Pro Bowler, All-Pro second-team member, and he's also had over 900 yards every single year of his career. He was 8 yards off 1,000 in 2024, 33 yards off 1,000 in 2021, and 100 yards off 1,000 in his rookie season. One of the more physical, athletic freaks in the NFL at the wide receiver position. We'll go to the Bay Area. We'll talk about the 36th overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft for the San Francisco 49ers, Deebo Samuel, who did get traded to the Washington Commanders this offseason, and he was a hybrid style unicorn receiving threat where he can also do it on the ground game as well. He peaked with 365 rushing yards on 59 attempts and 8 touchdowns in that 2021 season. He was an All-Pro first team member that year and his lone Pro Bowl season, because he also had 77 catches for 121 targets and 1,405 receiving yards. It is one of the more talented offensive seasons we have seen over the last 15 years from a skill position player. The LA Rams do not have many good second rounders since 2015, so this was a very easy one, and that was going to be the 57th overall pick all the way back in that 2015 NFL draft. Rob Havenstein, who has been a starting caliber offensive tackle for the Rams ever since, still on the Rams in his age 33 season. He's protected guys like Jared Goff. He's protected guys like Matthew Stafford. He won a Super Bowl with them at the early start of this decade, and he's been graded out as a top 10 offensive tackle according to PFF multiple times in his career. This was a very easy selection, taking the offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. For the Arizona Cardinals, we're going to talk about the 36th overall pick in the 2017 draft, the safety out of Washington, Budda Baker. Budda Baker has just been one of the best safeties since entering the NFL. He's made a Pro Bowl each of the last 6 seasons dating back to 2019. He's an All-Pro first team member 2 times in his career, once in 2017, once in 2020, multiple All-Pro second team finishes. He's got 5 seasons where he has over 100 tackles and even had 3 interceptions in that 2021 season. Budda Baker has had a very underrated career so far since being drafted by Arizona back in 2017. Not a lot of competition over in Las Vegas as well. They were also the Oakland Raiders. So we'll talk about Trayvon Moehrig, who was the 43rd overall pick in that 2021 draft out of TCU. He did sign with the Carolina Panthers this offseason, and he was a serviceable starting safety for Las Vegas over the last 4 years, has only missed 2 games in his career, which is an impressive feat, and had over 100 tackles for the first time in his career in that 2024 season, including 2 interceptions as well. Gotta give some love to Creed Humphrey over in Kansas City, but you have to go with Chris Jones, who was the 37th overall pick in that 2016 draft and has been the best player multiple times in Kansas City on Super Bowl winning teams. Since the 2016 season, Chris Jones, as an interior defensive lineman / defensive end, has had over 80 sacks in his career. He's gotten 3 straight All-Pro first team honors. He also has 3 All-Pro second team honors as well. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler, and like I said before, is a multiple-time Super Bowl champion, winning with the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2019, 2022, and in 2024. We'll go over to the Mile High City, and we're going to talk about the 40th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, Courtland Sutton, who has just been a solid, serviceable receiver since being drafted. Multiple 1,000-yard seasons, one in 2019, one in 2024. Hasn't also had the greatest quarterback play in his career either, but he was even a Pro Bowler once in 2019. It didn't really work out with Russell Wilson in Denver. But quarterbacks have come and gone, head coaches have come and gone, but one thing has stayed the same, and that's Courtland Sutton being the wide receiver 1 over in Denver. And man, the Chargers have had a rough drafting history in the second round since 2015, but it looks like they aced the 34th overall pick in the most recent NFL draft in 2024. Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, 82 catches, 1,149 yards, and 7 touchdowns as a rookie this season, and even showed up in his first career playoff game in their loss against the Houston Texans as well, where he had 14 targets, 9 receptions, 197 yards, and a touchdown, and is most likely going to get force-fed a ton of targets once again in the 2025 season as Justin Herbert's wide receiver 1. So that's gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, and if you want to see me do this with round 3, round 4, round 5, 6, and 7, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I said for your favorite team, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.